Hello there again, friends. Today is 1/15/2022, and today is Odin Project Vlog Day 40. Today was a light day. It's Saturday. Honestly, this didn't take a whole lot of time at all, um, and we'll just kind of get through it here and see where we go next, and talk about that at the end. Um, there is an exercise at the bottom of this understanding errors section. And just for you guys that are that come to my videos just for the um, text editor space and the coding, we won't be doing any actual coding today. It's a very we'll take a look at it together. So today's just gonna be kind of a discussion about errors. You guys can go out and do the exercise on your own. It's pretty verbose. It's right here, and it's talking about troubleshooting JavaScript and with the different types of errors. Um, Again, I don't want to make a really long video about this because there's a lot to read in here, and I don't want to gloss over it and create a confusion for you guys, any confusion. So it has you basically fork down a repo of theirs and play with it on your local machine and run it in your local browser, which I did all this already. I'm not going to do a video on it because it's just going to be really long. But it's basically using console log to log out parameter values at certain locations for troubleshooting purposes, going through different types of errors, working through the logic. This is where you change an algorithm because it was incorrect, because the game wasn't working correctly, so there were some math problems you had to solve. And it's all based around errors. Just putting the point there that not always does an error refer directly back to, it'll give you a line reference, but the error may not actually be there. In the example of if your algorithm's wrong, your math is wrong, you had to actually go find this. The error didn't actually land here, but the error was triggered because of this miscalculation that didn't have this times 100 in it that you needed to have. So it's just stuff like that. I won't go into it. Like I said, you basically fork it down, you run through it. I do encourage you to not skip this, and don't skip any of this. It's really good. It's teaching you about errors. So essentially, today was about the main types of errors. Talks about the analogy of an error. So there's three types of main errors. Technically there's a lot more, but the main ones that we're focused on right now is reference error, which is when excuse me. Reference error is thrown when one refers to a variable that is not declared or initialized within the current scope. Is typically when you get a reference error, and it goes through some examples of what that looks like, how that comes about. Reference error here would be C is not defined, meaning you have a call to a print function, and then it does the print function, and inside of that it calls add. It goes to add and returns C, but C is not defined anywhere in here. So you'll get a reference error saying C is not defined. It talks more about that. Talks about the trace stacks, or stack trace, excuse me, and that's basically this right here. It goes through, and the error will show you basically different locations that it found that C is not defined, and that's just walking you through the script from basically top to bottom as it's processed, so you can kind of see the stack and basically backtrack your error till you get to the actual problem, which would have been right here, the fact that C is not defined. A lot of people will, the text talks about, like, people will think the problem is at the print call because it's the last one here, or it's the most obvious one, or it's, but they don't understand that they need to follow the stack trace to go locate it, because it's not actually it may be being thrown from there, as they call it, but that's not actually where the change and the origin of the error is coming from. And it talks about different types of errors. So you have a syntax error, which that's exactly what it sounds like. Syntax error, invalid or unexpected token. In this example, we don't have parentheses in hello world, nor do we have a semicolon after it. So that's going to throw an error. And then there's links to all these in MDM, the MDM links to go into more detail, which I won't click on them. But these go into more the syntax error, common ones that you'll run into. Type error. So this is when an operator argument is passed to a function that is incompatible with the type expected, or it's trying to modify a value that cannot be changed. Like if you defined a constant, which is actually ironically, I didn't remember that. This example here is a constant is trying to you have two strings you'd like to combine to create one message below. So it's trying to combine it, and it's saying that string.push is not a function. So you have constants here, and then your constant message is you're trying to use push in an inappropriate manner, and it can be a type error because push is not a function, and the browser thinks you're trying to tell the browser it is because you're trying to give it string 2 as an argument, but dot push is not actually even a function. So it's actually a I think it's a method. That's a key. Dot push is not a string method. It's an array method. Excuse me. So hence it's not a function that you can find a string method. Yeah. So basically, it's an array method, but it won't input a string into it. But you're trying to do that. So just to give an example, that's kind of like a type error. It's more involved, a little more, hard to, in my opinion, right now as noobs, it's harder to. You have to look a little deeper into how you're using your methods and your variables, because it's probably being used in an inappropriate way, which probably as a noob won't be the easiest thing to troubleshoot and locate, but that's kind of where that's coming from. And then there's the MDN for the type error, and then there's did I skip one here? Type error, syntax error, I guess not, reference error. Okay, those are the main ones. There's a couple other things sprinkled in there, but and then down here it talks about tips for resolving errors. I like this. At this point, you might be wondering how we can resolve errors. First, basically, try to understand it on your own. Second, you can use Google. Chances are somebody out there on MDNs wrote an article on it, or Stack Overflow. And if nothing else, you'll receive more clarity as to why you're receiving the error. Third, these aren't necessarily in the order you should do them. Probably not a bad idea to read the error and see if you can figure it out on your own. And honestly, me personally, I'd probably use, if I was wanting to understand it better, I'd probably use the debugger before I Googled it, because as we talked about yesterday, sometimes Googling is not the best, especially when you're learning in the beginning. I guess if you know what the problem is and you just need the quick answer to move on to the next thing, the next code block or whatever, that's fine. But the problem is you really rob yourself of learning. It's okay to Google, I guess, if you get the answer, but make sure that you understand why you're getting the answer and why that broke and why that now works. So if not, you're really just robbing yourself really of the learning opportunity. So debugger is probably the better step, because as we talked yesterday, I won't go over it again, but you can use the debugger in Dev Tools to step yourself through your code, and it can actually reveal the values that that the variables are taking on and the methods are calling in the moment. So it's a really good learning tool to see, to help you understand what you're doing and maybe how you're inappropriately using a variable or a string or text, or maybe you have a syntax problem. That debugging process will help. And then there's this nice article. It's actually, we were linked to this a couple weeks ago, but it links to it again, that ironically goes into the Chrome debugger, but it's basically the same thing. The only thing I noticed that was a difference was that in Chrome, they have a video on here that you can watch, and at the end he basically says how you can edit your JavaScript inside of the code, like just to show you, he like okay, this is a really bad example because there's no JS on this page. No, there it is. So, like, just for example, like here they show you making changes in Chrome. Now I'm in Firefox, but I can't edit this at all. Like, I can't do anything with this. I can look at it and I can inspect it and I can put a breakpoint on it, but I can't edit it, and I don't know why. So if that was bothering me, and I looked it up and Googled it and didn't really get an answer. So if one of you has an answer, you can put that in the comments below. If you care to know, I am using Xubuntu 20.04's version of Firefox, which is 90.0, or excuse me, 96.064-bit Mozilla Firefox for Ubuntu, canonical 1.0. So pause it right now if you need to take a screenshot of that or whatever. Let me know. Maybe it's a feature bug, or maybe it's not supposed to be edited, but I can edit inspection. I can inspect elements and look, I can change them. Not that I want to, but I can't seem to change, and I can't change it in debugger mode, which you can in Chrome. So I don't know if I'm not supposed to be able to or what, but it's really kind of frustrating. Like, I can change it in here, but as you can see, the JavaScript that they show in the inspector element or tab is gross. It's not easy to work with. It's not friendly. It's not even IntelliSensed. So I mean, I can do it here and save it, I guess. Actually, I didn't even know how to save it, so I don't know. Because you can save it in to your local machine for continued editing. You can do that in Chrome as well, and I don't see how to do that in Firefox. So anyway, I didn't really want to tangent into that, but I was just having some personal issues with getting that to work. So let me know in the comments if you guys figured it out or if I'm doing something wrong. So back into this, use the debugger, make use of console.log. They go over this in the example or in the exercise for today. The MDN will walk you through that, and basically put console.log with a variable in right after the line that you're questioning the variable on, and it'll print that to the, as we've learned before, it'll print that to console so you can take a look at that to see if that's what you're expecting or not for a value, and help you solve errors and issues there. They're talking about errors and warnings, that basically errors will stop you in your tracks. Warnings will keep you going, although it's probably best to fix warnings, but warnings are not a showstopper. And that's about it. Just a couple simple knowledge checks, and that is error checking. So, or understanding errors. So 76% complete, and maybe I'll start a little bit tonight because I'm pretty excited, or tomorrow I'll be starting rock, paper, scissors. I've already kind of looked at it. It's going to be a beefy and meaty. I know you guys probably crack up when I say these terms, but beefy and meaty project. I will probably likely split rock, paper, scissors into multiple parts like I've done before in my last project. So that the video isn't super long. I'll probably code a section, find a natural stopping point, and then create a video for you guys and do a part 2. I don't know how many parts it'll be. It doesn't really matter really, but I'm excited to start it. I am weirdly excited to write an algorithm. Does that sound weird? And get stuck? I'm actually kind of looking forward to that, because that's that problem-solving skill set that I need to build up that we talked about yesterday. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, and I've got a kid that the end result I hope is pretty cool because I've got a youngster at home that would love to play this game. So even if it's kind of a rough cut version without a GUI or anything, I think he'd still like it. But anyway, I'm just kind of rambling at this point. So I hope you guys had fun today and coming along with the journey with me, and um, brought along a little bit of knowledge and more understanding with this video. And please like, share, and subscribe for more content. And let me know in the comments how you're coming along with everything, and if you're ready to start rock, paper, scissors JavaScript project, and what your excitement level is. And let me know too below. I know I mentioned it a couple times already, but let me know too in the comments if you guys know of a way to get Dev Tools and Firefox to work where you can live edit the code and then save it and run it when you come up with a solution. So I know how to run the breakpoints, and I know how to run all the tracing and everything. I know how to run the lookup logs and the errors and all that. I just am getting stuck on that editing the HTML or the CSS. Excuse me, no, editing the JavaScript portion and getting that to save and run it just on my local box. Outside of doing it, obviously I know I can do it in Vscode, but I'm just trying to do it all in the browser because they say you can, at least in Chrome. But anyway, repeating myself a lot. So without further ado, until next time, see ya.